Kaedehara Kazuha will be coming to Genshin Impact in a week. I think he'll be a very strong addition to Genshin Impact, but exactly how strong he is, well, that's what we're here to see. As always, pre-release analysis contain leaked data and does not directly reflect the actual character performance will be on release, so take everything with a grain of salt, and you should be determining that if he is worth your primo yourself. After the Elemental Mastery buff, I think that Kazuha will be pretty decent at a 4 out of 5 rating for me, which means he's a pretty good pull. However, the biggest problem with Kazuha is that he falls short of Venti, but that's no fault of Kazuha. Venti just set the bar way too high. We already have 4 different Anemo support in the game: Anemo MC, Jean, Sucrose, and Venti. And of course, Venti and Sucrose specifically got really strong after the Elemental Mastery buff. So the question you have to ask when looking at Kazuha is that, what do Kazuha do differently from existing Anemo support? Can Kazuha do anything better than existing support? If so, by how much? And is it worth replacing them with Kazuha? These are ultimate questions that you have to ask yourself when it comes to Kazuha, and I hope that you guys think about it along the way of the video as well. Starting off, Kazuha get Elemental Mastery as his Ascension stat. This is not really too surprising because of the way Kazuha work. However, since he do not get crit or attack as his Ascension stat, it might be potentially harder to build him as the main DPS, which is expected because Kazuha is meant to be a sub DPS similar to Venti. Kazuha's elemental skill Shihaya Fulu have a 2-part to it. The first part will suck in all the enemy and make Kazuha jump into the air, and then when he plunge, he'll do another mini suck. Note that both of these parts will swirl individually. At talent level 6, assuming you use the whole version instead, you'll be doing 365 Anemo damage plus about 297% Anemo damage from the plunge, and finally 200% damage from the absorb element. In total, this is equated to 662% Anemo damage, 200 non-Anemo damage, and 2 swirl count. In comparison to Venti, Venti at level 6 only have a 386 Anemo damage on his elemental skill. While Kazuha's look like it do more damage, he does take significantly longer time to do it, and so they kinda balance out, and overall I would say they are more or less equal. Kazuha's elemental burst is domain expansion. He expands a domain around him that will continuously apply Anemo damage and swirl around him. If he came into contact with another element, it will infuse and do additional damage of that element type, exactly the same as Venti. Kazuha's domain expansion starts with a slash, doing 367% damage at talent level 6, and then it will also do a damage over time, a total of 5 times at 168% each at talent level 6. In total, it will swirl 6 times. When combined, we have a total of 1200% Anemo and about 252% additional, with a total of 6 swirl. And again, when we compare this to Venti, Venti's elemental bursts have a dot damage of 20 times, infusion of 16 times, and a total of 7 swirl, for a total of about 1050 Anemo damage and 420 additional damage on top of the 6 or 7 swirl. Again, when we stack them next to each other, we can see that they are pretty much identical and can output very similar in damage. Now, of course, with the latest patch, Venti now prefer to build Elemental Mastery, and so because of that, we can actually expect Kazuha to build full Elemental Mastery or something like that as well. Potentially maybe Yim attack or Yim Anemo. And of course, when we talk about Elemental Mastery, we gotta talk about Kazuha's Final Talent, which grant his teammate 0.04% elemental damage bonus for each point of Elemental Mastery that he has. If you're using a Iron String, which is a free-to-play craftable weapon with triple main stat Elemental Mastery, then you'll be expecting to get about 841 Elemental Mastery, which equate to about a 33% damage bonus. Now at this point, Kazuha looked really promising. Being able to output the same damage as Venti while giving your teammate a 33% damage bonus is of course a really attractive point about Kazuha. But at the same time, that's all there is to it. At this point, we need to ask a very important question. Is this all Kazuha can offer? Is this the best that he can do? And the answer is kinda looking toward a yes. Starting off on the grouping capability on Kazuha, it looked like it have a really big radius on his elemental skill, however that's the only thing. It also looks like the follow-up plunge will kinda mess up with the grouping, and so therefore I don't think his grouping is that great. In comparison, sucrose have a pretty good grouping as well, and most importantly, sucrose elemental burst is a deployable skill, which means she can continuously provide CC even though she's not on the field and to keep on staggering those mobs. And of course, this is especially true for Ventis, whose elemental burst is just a giant black hole that sucks absolutely everything in with absolutely no escape. Continuous CC is the first thing that we see lacking from Kazuha, and keep in mind that his elemental bursts do not continuous CC like Sucrose and Venti does. Continuous CC is one of the reasons why Venti is so good in Abyss. Against these Abyss mages, continuous CC can make sure that they never put their shield back up and they never teleport away. This is especially true against the Sin mages who like to teleport away very much, and thus grieving your entire run. And of course, this is one of the things that empowered the strongest team Morgana in the first place. Venti's Black Hole just allowed Ganyu's Elemental Burst to hit every single enemy with every single icicle. And of course, because of Morgana team already having Mona, it already have enough damage to the point where I don't really care about the damage bonus that Kazuha can get, and I'd rather just have Venti's extra utility. Speaking of which, Ventis apply elements so well that potentially Kazuha cannot catch up, and of course this limits his potential compared to Venti as well. His elemental bursts take too slow to be applied in the same frequency as Venti could, which of course limit your potential. Speaking of utility, Venti also have one of the best utility in the game, which is energy refunding. Venti's elemental burst will refund 15 energy to himself as well as any party member that is the same element as the elemental burst absorption. For example, in Morgana, because he absorbed cryo, this will give 15 energy to your Ganyu. And this right here is what empower the infinite looping elemental burst in team like Morgana. This 15 energy refund mechanics is unique to Venti and is not to be underestimated, especially since how Future's character is rumored to have 80 energy cost bursts as well, like on Ayaka's. Now, of course, since this 15 energy refund for Venti exists, that means his elemental burst actually only costs 45 instead of 60. On top of that, Ventis actually get energy recharged as his ascension stat, which make funding his elemental burst very comfortable and very easy. Similarly, Kazuha also have a 60 energy cost on his elemental burst, but without the energy refund and without the energy recharge ascension stat, you might run into slight problem with energy regeneration, which once again cripple him a little bit more than Venti would. Now, with that being said, let's look at the damage preventing part. Recall that with a Iron String and triple main stat on Elemental Mastery, you can get about a 33% damage bonus to your party member. However, do you know that this might not work on a Nemo character like Xiao or Geo character like Zhongli or Albedo because you cannot swirl those elements. But a similar invested Sucrose can share about 200 Elemental Mastery to her party member, which equate to about a 28% increase in either Vaporize damage or Melt damage, on top of course, the Dragon Slayer buff, which is 48% attack. Anytime that you're playing a Vaporize or Melt type of team, Sucrose is just gonna be able to provide more damage than Kazuha can to her teammate. Because Elemental Mastery is a multiplier in its own category, while damage bonus from Kazuha is additive with other damage bonus, such as your artifact in the same category. So it is like Kazuha can provide damage bonus similar to Sucrose, just not as much, but he can also do similar damage to Venti, but with the exception of not as much utility as Venti. Of course, if you're just looking for a Nemo support to proc the 4-set VB bonus, there's still always Jean. Jeans can provide a lot of healing, and healing is always really appreciated, but more importantly, Jean can actually also do really good damage from doing the fall damage abuse. So once again we ask, what do Kazuha do better than these characters, and where would I put Kazuha into a team? And of course, to answer that question, I went through many of the meta teams to see which team I would rather put Kazuha in, and here are some of my answers. For one, mono element team like Pure Pyro or PP team will really appreciate Kazuha, since Kazuha can easily swirl Pyro, which decreases the Pyro resistance of enemy, but also providing a Pyro damage bonus to every single party member. And sucrose provide elemental mastery, which does not work at all in a team like this, so in comparison, Kazu is just much better and much more suitable. The next up on this list is actually Freeze team that is not Morgana. Once again, Sucrose Elemental Mastery do not provide any bonus to any party member here, and so Kazu would be a really good slot to decrease the cryo resistance of the enemy while providing cryo damage bonus to your party member. So this is kind of like a budget Morgana with a budget venti, aka Kazuha. Potentially in the future with Ayaka as well. The last type of team that Kazuha would work in is of course the typical Venti Gene team, however instead you do a Kazuha Gene team. Perhaps you can even do Kazuha, Venti, and Gene. But ultimate question here to ask is, well, why would I just not run Venti Gene instead? Wouldn't Venti Gene basically be the same or better? And the answer here is that, well, you run this if you don't have Venti, I guess. Now, over this video, we talked about a lot of reasons why Kazuha is not actually that great when compared to other Anemo characters. But of course, that is no fault of Kazuha. That is just because of character, especially like Venti, set the bar way too high. And honestly, the fact that Kazuha can potentially do just as well as characters that are like Venti deserve a call on its own. In fact, with Constellation, especially Constellation 2, Kazuha just basically overpowers Sucrose in every single way. That is as a support. However, with Constellation 6, Kazuha pretty much become a pretty good main DPS as well, so that is good thing about Kazuha, although that is Constellation 6. This brings us to a ultimate question that only you can answer, and I want you to think about it. If you already have Venti, do you really need Kazuha? Similarly, if you already have Sucrose, maybe a really built Sucrose, can Kazuha really do anything different for me? Or maybe even the same question but for other Anemo character support. Or perhaps you don't have Venti, but knowing that Venti might be stronger than Kazuha, do you really roll for Kazuha still? Or maybe you just wait for the Venti rerun? These are questions that only you can answer for yourself. After all, the only thing that better than one Venti might just be two Venti. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are and if you're gonna roll Kazuha or not in the comment. Maybe you agree or disagree with some of the point I made in this video, and that's okay. As long as you're thinking for yourself, I'm happy. And I hope to see you guys next time as well. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.
You